Thanks, Bosco.
You're welcome.
Welcome to FCADC Studio 1900 for another edition of Mike on the Mic. I am Mike Ross, and I, along with our producer, David Mackley, a.k.a. Bosco, interview local movers, shakers, and policymakers about issues that matter to all of us, or at least to most of us, and nothing is off limits.
Nothing.
Today, nothing is off limit, right?
Nothing.
Today, we have a very special guest who is has been running one of our more impactful nonprofits here in Franklin County, and Karen Johnston is going to tell us about Healthy Communities Partnership. But before we get to Karen, we have a little commercial we're going to do, and we learned that our commercial has generated at least one prospect for Blue Ridge Risk Partners. So, Bosco,
Yes.
when you think of insurance, what do you think about?
I think of captive insurance from one of our top 10 providers, Blue Ridge Risk Partners, and Jeb Keller.
And yes, indeed. From captive insurance and alternative risk solutions for your business to health insurance for your family, Blue Ridge Risk Partners offers the products, expertise, and services of a top 10 insurance agency right here in Franklin County. And Blue Ridge and their predecessors have been serving the Franklin County Area Development Corporation since 1986. So if you want to make sure that you are covered completely and have the best policies in place, you should call our friend Jeb Keller, who's always happy to take your call. And they're trying to aspire not to be in the top 10, but to be number one.
Yeah.
So anyway, but thank you to Blue Ridge for their sponsorship. And for anyone who's interested in being a sponsor, you should call us.
Yes.
And you can reach us at 717-263-8282 or email david@fcadc.com.
Yep.
So thank you for that. And now we can get on with the podcast. And again, we are happy to have Karen Johnston with us today. And Karen, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this opportunity. It's
Well, this is great. So, and again, and for those who, are you executive director or
I'm
president?
the executive director, yes.
Because sometimes we get lost in these titles.
Yes.
But Karen is the executive director of Healthy Communities Partnership, and she's going to tell us about Healthy Communities and all the things that her organization does. But before we do that, because you're very involved in the community, and people want to know, before we get to Healthy Communities, tell us about Karen Johnston. Where are you from?
So I have lived and worked in Chambersburg for about 38 years.
Okay.
We moved here, my husband and I moved here to actually take over a dental practice on Route 11. So he took that over in the late 80s. So we've been here 38 years. I'm married.
So where'd you move here from?
We were in upstate New York for a while.
Okay.
He was in a dental practice there. Prior to that, I was where I grew up in Danville. I was working at the Geisinger, and that's where we met. And he was he was actually going to be an oral surgeon, and then just decided that he really liked general dentistry, and so had a friend upstate New York. He went and worked for, and then found our own practice here.
So it's always interesting. Upstate New York.
We hear that a
Yes.
lot.
Anything outside of New York City is upstate New York. Okay.
This was upstate New York. We were talking about cold temperatures here. There
Where
were
were you at?
we were
like
on
Placid?
Cayuga. We lived on Cayuga Lake,
Oh,
which is
wine
in
country.
Penn Yan.
Yeah.
And it was beautiful, but talk about cold.
Yeah.
It was.
So this is like the tropics for you.
This is a try. This
So
is
when
great.
you were in Danville, do you know a guy by the name of Jim Martin?
That name sounds familiar.
He became a doctor, but he was like a 4-time state wrestling champion at Danville.
How? Well, I'm.
It had probably been like early 80s, late 70s, early 80s, something
Yeah,
like
I
that.
probably would. If I look back, I probably would.
I think he went to
have
Penn
he-
State.
Okay. Yeah, that would have been. He would have been maybe a little bit older than me, but yeah.
By the way,
Yeah.
Here we go.
No, Danville is a pretty interesting community because at one point they had like the highest per capita income of any community in the state, and all the kids tested off the charts because of the Geisinger Medical Center.
Geisinger and Merck Sharp and Dow was over the river in Riverside.
So it's a pretty interesting place.
Yeah.
So
So I have two children, girls. They both live in the greater Pittsburgh area. and work there. And I am about to become a grandmother for the first time.
Nice.
I know.
Congratulations.
Yeah, a baby boy. The staff have all been testing names on me. But yesterday, I think they decided that we were talking about Winnie the Pooh, and for whatever reason, and they were like, "That's your name, Winnie."
Winnie.
Winnie.
Oh, so you're gonna create your own name. You gotta let the
I
kid-
know, that's
the
what I think.
grandchildren will
Yeah.
create the name.
I think he is going to create the name, but
Yeah, he will. He will.
anyhow, they've been trying names on for me down
Nice.
there.
Because it's usually
yeah.
that, what, like, I can't say grandma, so I'm gonna call you whatever.
yeah,
whatever
exactly.
And that
comes to
sticks.
mind.
Yeah.
And that
that's what
sticks.
it
Yep,
is.
yep.
So, no, but
so yeah.
so yeah, and by the way, it's the greatest thing ever.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. That's
It
what
is
I've
the
heard.
greatest thing ever.
So, we have a dog, Russell.
I met Russell.
You met Russell, what they call him Big Russ at work. And he completes our empty nest. So, and yeah, he follows us everywhere we go. So, yeah,
Oh,
that's
that's
a little
great.
bit about me.
No, so good. So when you left Danville, where'd you go? Did you go to school, college?
So I went to Penn State, main campus. It was an interesting journey. I like your grandkids or like children, you go and you look at different schools. I just didn't like any of them and wanted to go to Penn State. So I went to Penn State, Maine, studied health and human development, which is what I graduated with. When I started, I was going to be a teacher because, and I know you understand where I'm coming from. There was a time when women you only went into certain
No, it's professions you
professions.
do. The teachers and social work.
Although it was expanding a little bit then, you only went into certain professions. And teachers was one of them, and I wanted to do that. And nursing, but I wasn't good with the yucky stuff, which is kind of how I got away from teaching. In hindsight, maybe I should have stuck with it. But so yeah, I was volunteering at a local school in a kindergarten class, probably not where I should have gotten my toes wet. It wasn't the best choice.
Maybe literally.
No, probably was where you should have gotten your toes wet.
But yeah, so the spitting and the other stuff, just I didn't enjoy that. So honestly, I
blame
was
you.
like,
Yeah.
okay, now I'm not.
No, I think that's why you, in all seriousness, in a lot of cases, that's why we have internships, and I think, and job shadowing, because you think you want to do something till you get exposed to it, and then find out, nah, this is not for me.
Yeah, it
And
was
better you make that decision early
Yeah.
than pursue it and then find out this
Yep.
is not for me.
Yeah. So yeah, it was an interesting turn of events, and then I knew I wanted to be in human services or work with people in some way, and going back to some of my thinking through this, I wanted to be a leader. My mother was a leader in Geisinger. She was actually head of the food service. She was the head there, and I wanted to be a leader, and so that's what led me to human services, and that's kind of my go around. And then 20 years later, I graduated with my master's from Penn State Harrisburg.
Okay.
So I'm a big state fan, and that was in education, health education. So I again got a feel for health. I wasn't really into the nursing or that practical
But more
part of it, but
policy?
more policy, more macro level, and more again of the education and the health and understanding public health was sort of where I.
So from Penn State, did you meet your husband in State College? Or?
No, actually, I met my husband at Geisinger. He was
Okay.
working at Geisinger. He was doing an internship there, and we met, and yeah, oddly,
So then,
Yep.
then you end up in upstate
New York for about a year and a half, and then he knew he wanted to do general dentistry. He wanted his own practice, so we went. Oh my gosh, we must have toured the Northeast and all the way down into West Virginia, looking at practices.
But then you found out they
And
didn't
then-
have teeth down there, so
Yeah,
you,
that's right.
Hey,
yeah, that was
careful.
Oh, yeah, but we went to Danbury, Connecticut, went into some practices in Elmira, New York, looked all over, and even in Pittsburgh, looked in Carlisle, and then we headed down this way and found a gentleman that was going to retire, and he helped us finance the building and the practice, and it's
So
been
here you are,
booming ever since.
38 years later. and you're
38
still
years
here.
later, yeah.
So, okay, so now that you're here, what were you doing initially?
So initially, when I moved here, I started working, again, I was in human services, and I started working at the mental health center, which was actually downtown Chambersburg, where SCAP is now. And I worked in the partial program, and I enjoyed that. I worked with really chronically ill, mentally ill patients. And then I got an opportunity, just some people that I knew and knew my husband and knew me, I got an opportunity to work for Women in Need.
Okay.
So I worked for Women in Need for about 7 years. And then another opportunity came, and it was working actually I was working at Shippensburg, but I was working for the Pennsylvania Child Welfare Training Center, which was based out of Shippensburg. And in that role, I would go all across the state. Mostly I had the western part of the state. I would travel across the state and take part in the trainings that the child welfare staff have to do. They're mandated to do 120 hours before they can actually take on cases. So I was like quality control, and I would help write some curriculum and help do those things. And then I had my second child, and traveling was really a challenge.
Right.
And so at that time, I contacted Women in Need again, and they said, sure, come on back. We need an assistant director. And I said, okay, right up my alley. So I went back there and pretty much stayed there until my current opportunity.
So how, and I'm, in the context of full disclosure, our oldest daughter, Kyra, works for you, and she is a licensed social worker and the like. And so we have these conversations with her from time to time. But how do you manage the stress of social work? Because the need is overwhelming.
It is.
And as soon as you address one,
Yep.
there
Yeah.
seems like there's 10
Yes.
more cases that
Yeah.
you have to take on.
Absolutely. So I would say, again, I'm looking at it from my perspective as the executive director, and I still do try to keep my fingers in it, so that I'm working with the kids and knowing what's going on, because I don't think a good director can lead people if you don't actually get into the rooms with them or know what they're actually doing. But I don't do it on a day-to-day basis.
Right, understood.
I think that there's social work that is more difficult. I'll be honest, Women in Need, that's hard
No,
work.
that's
hard
what
work.
generated the question,
Yes.
because I think that, you are dealing with folks who are in crisis.
Yes, and in all honesty, that's why I left the first time. I had a woman, and it was a bad situation. She's alive as far as I know, but what happened to her in the whole context of it, and her still wanting to go home, it broke me. It was awful. It was hard, but it's needed. I mean, we need to have people that can do
absolutely,
that,
yes.
and we've got strong leadership there. So, currently, I think the work that I do is more positive. It's on a more positive nature, and we tend to look at things at HCP in a more uplifting manner. Now, Kyra, in her role as a supervisor and as actually mentoring students, does hear terrible stories, and the staff do hear terrible stories. So in order to offset that, I try to make it an environment where they can have fun. Oftentimes that's at lunch. I don't dictate, like, you get an hour for lunch, you gotta clock in, you gotta clock out. They don't need that. They need to be free to sit, have conversations. Some of the conversations we have are pretty wild. We laugh a lot. I think we have to do that. The other thing is we try to do some team building or some fun activities. We do that twice a year. We probably should do that a lot more.
It's interesting, talking to Kyra over the years.
Interesting.
No,
Team building.
Team-
A novel concept.
We'll look into that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Why don't
I
you-
can give you some names of people that are really good at
Could
it.
we do
Okay,
some
good.
paintball?
Oh, we've done
No,
axe
no.
throwing.
Oh, there you
We
go.
would need a therapist to be in here.
Yeah.
But, no, I think and I know in talking to Kyra over this, and early on when she was doing social work down outside of Morgantown, West Virginia, and she would tell us stories about some of the things, and to the point where I said, can we talk about something else?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
because, and for her, this is what she did,
Yes.
and we were very, very proud of it. But what her take has been, you got my all for,
Yep.
while I'm here, but when I go home,
Yep,
I'm going home,
absolutely.
and I can't change the world. I'm gonna change effective people in my world, but I can't, there's so many
Yes.
problems, I just have to concentrate on those that are in front of me. But anyway, so tell us about the evolution and the formation of healthy communities. How did that come about?
So I was not around for part of that. However, working at Women in Need, I was actually a partner when it was under Summit Health. So it actually started in 1993. A group of concerned people got together about things that were happening at that time, changes that were going on in the communities, in the schools. So they got together, and at the same time, it wasn't mandated then. That came with Obama. It wasn't mandated that hospitals had to do a needs assessment every 3 years, but Summit was doing needs assessments. And so they were looking at some of the needs that were happening and consistently happening over time. And so Healthy Communities Partnership had a group of passionate people that came together. There were partners from all nonprofits, from other healthcare, from businesses that would meet and convene about the major issues affecting people and people's health. And from that, formed some work groups,
Who are some of the nonprofits at that point? Do you
at that
remember?
point, Women in Need was definitely one. The Mental Health Association was one.
Was United-
BOPEC was one. United Way was one. SCAP certainly was one, although I don't think they were as deep in the community at that time. There were definitely First Start Partnerships, which was Head Start at the time. So it was really people coming together that had a broad outlook on health. At that time, too, if you remember, and it's regionalized now, we had Department of Health. We actually had an Office of Department of Health here in Franklin County and in Fulton County and other counties. They were a big partner. Healthy Communities Partnership, the other thing that we did at that time was a lot of grants or a lot of minor or smaller programs were run through Healthy Communities Partnership because it was his own 501c3.
So it got created by this Summit Health.
Under Summit Health, yeah.
As its own standalone
Yep.
501c3
Yep.
nonprofit.
Yep.
And funded primarily by Summit at that
Funded
point?
primarily by Summit at that point. And again, there were other things that they could then apply for. Every year they would do the immunization grant. They would run that money through HCP, and basically the advertising, things like that, went through HCP's coffers at the time. But we were definitely under the umbrella of Summit Health.
So it started in 1993, and how did the programming, how did it grow?
So that's a great question, and it's funny. I have to say this, and if he's listening, I might tell him he has to listen when this is on. Greg, why is his name going out of my? He works for SEK. His name is going out of my head. Greg Hall. He was and still is my accountant, and he'll tell you.
Greg does a lot of nonprofit.
He does.
Yes.
Anyhow, so at that time, in 2028, listen to me, 2028, we aren't even, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'll have a name by then. My grandson will have me a name by then. So in 2008, fiscally, things, were falling down around everybody, and Summit had to make some decisions in terms of cuts. At the very same time, Jan Crudden, who was my predecessor and the original executive director, was retiring. So they said, okay, well, we're going to completely cut financially you off. Your own 501c3 will give you some seed money, and they gave a nice little packet of seed money, and at that time, the tobacco contract for Franklin County.
Okay.
So I had that contract, and then I had some seed money that was basically just to pay me, and I had a board of directors. Dave Nagy was a big part of that. United Way was a big part of that. Tom Reeder, who was with Red Cross at the time, big part of that. So I actually applied for a Leadership Franklin County project grant.
Okay.
And Kim Eaton, and I know you know Kim Eaton real well. Kim Eaton and her team basically were to help me decide or help me think about what we wanted to be or what we wanted to evolve to. And one thing led to another, and basically had to sit back and say, we're not a pass-through. We don't have money that we can just give because we don't have it. We can't do some of the things that we want to do without funding, so we have to reimagine. So that group helped me reimagine, rethink what we're doing, and now we're more program and service based.
Okay, so talk about some of the programs and services that you were delivering.
So we really weren't doing a whole lot at first. We were really just doing the tobacco prevention and cessation programming in the county, which involved adult cessation, youth cessation. On the youth side, it was more prevention education. We were going into the classrooms, talking about the dangers of combustible nicotine, and that was really at the crux of what we were doing. But I had been in the community for quite some time, if you think about that timeline, and I knew people, I had relationships with people. Kim Eaton was very tied into the community. And so one thing led to another, and I was approached by Drug and Alcohol here in Franklin County, and they said, well, do you think you would take on some of this work in terms of expanding that tobacco piece to other substances and alcohol and things of that nature? So we took that on, and that's expanded over the years, where we are the only prevention provider for the drug and alcohol in the county. We do Too Good for Drugs is our big program that we do that has just blown off the charts this year. And that's what it sounds like. Don't do drugs. But that's not what this program is. It's very much a social skills building program where we're teaching kids, how do you make goals? How do you set goals? How do you attain goals? How do you deal with fall setbacks?
These kids, how do you reach the kids, and where are these kids?
So they're in the schools. Right now we're in Tuscarora, Chambersburg, Cumberland Valley Christian School. We're heavily in them. We reach out to the schools and tell them that we have this program. It's a K through 12 program. In all honesty, we mostly do 4th and 5th grade.
Okay.
So the schools pretty much have us on their calendars to go in and teach all the 4th graders, all the 5th graders. Cumberland Valley is doing their entire K through 12 with this curriculum. And it's taught at an age-appropriate level. There's different levels of teaching. And so the schools contact us, and we scramble, and we go in. It's 10 lessons that are about 45 minutes long. And again, it's more social skill building, problem solving, but then we get into the specific drugs and their effect on the body, on the brain.
No, I think
in a fun way.
I think that but I think what you're doing there, presumably is life changing. There's a little bit of the I would think anyway, the starfish theory that we may not get up, but if we save one,
Yes.
that I mean you've been successful. But so I think reach out. One of my frustrations that I have is, and this is related to the topic, but clearly going off a little bit, is that as a state, our state budgets are built around addictive behaviors. And so we educate in school not to do drugs, not to smoke, not to drink alcohol, not to gamble, but when you turn 18, you can't do enough of it.
Right.
Because we need your revenue from having done it, because it's going to fund other things. And that there's a contradictory message that gets sent there. And so anyway.
And gambling
but hopefully you're reaching some of these folks that, and I know you are. And I know some of your programming is just, you are mentors to young people in a way to help them build self-esteem and try to help them and their parents manage their lives.
Yes. And in best case scenario, a program like that, it's an evidence-based program, and to be done to full fidelity, it's best done if you do it, say, in 2nd grade, in 4th grade, and then in 6th grade, so that you're getting
every 2 years.
Getting the same message, but you're getting it at an age-appropriate level, and you're hearing it.
And as you're in your different point in life, exactly. You're starting to mature and so on.
And so we don't. The schools don't do that. And it's not their fault. They've got a lot to do. They've got a lot on their plate. But we are happy to be in the schools that we're in. It's also a program that we can teach other teachers to do it. So that's the other thing that we've been trying to get more and more, because when I talk about another one of our programs, my vision for that is that the schools will take it on themselves. Not that we don't want to do it, but that the schools will take it on themselves and do it.
And for the schools, you can be a resource for them if
Yes.
they
Yes.
reach out and say, hey, look, we want this, but could you help us?
Yes.
Come
And
in and.
Yep, and we actually, Ben Chambers, Ben Chambers is actually doing it this year. We did it for them in their 5th grade last year, and this year they have an extra social worker, extra counselor, and she said, I know this is really hard for you guys to accomplish, because we're doing a lot. Everyone's been mobilized at this point to do Too Good for Drugs, believe it or not, and so the social worker said, I think I can handle this, and we were like, yes, handle it.
Important phone call. Look at that.
He's an
Party
important guy.
foul. He should know not to have his phone.
You are absolutely
mine
right.
But guests are permitted. Not the,
No, that was.
I put mine on Do Not Ring because, so the schools can do it, but it is a lot. But then if they have a social worker or a counselor who feels like they can do it, it's a curriculum that they can follow and do, and that's very helpful. So that's and you know, the Too Good for Drugs is just one tip of the iceberg, and that's kind of how this all evolved. And then going back to what your original question was, one thing led to another, and then the county was looking for a provider for student assistance program, which is a mandated, go back to the state again, a mandated program with no money.
Mm-hmm.
So then counties and schools, they're required to have some way to identify students who have mental health needs, drug and alcohol needs, social needs, and are falling behind.
Mm-hmm.
They're mandated to have a system in place, but there's no money for it. So the schools, some districts like Lancaster make it work. They have $1 million that they budget for that, for their school district. We are blessed beyond, and I say this when I go to the schools, we are blessed beyond anything to have the county mental health and drug and alcohol pay for SAP services and elementary SAP services in Franklin and Fulton County, because some counties don't do that.
No, well, I'm glad to hear that.
Just an example, Cumberland, I got contacted by Shippensburg High School because Cumberland County, the entire county, dropped their mental health support for student assistance program last year.
Wow.
And those school districts were scrambling.
That's, I mean, you'd think that would be a priority.
You would, but again, it's not really the county's.
No,
I shouldn't say this, and they're listening to the county, and they're going, we don't have to pay for that. But they do. We're blessed.
No, but I think it and especially given the challenges we've had in
Yes.
schools across
Yes.
the country, and mental health issues are attributed to a lot of the violence that has taken
Absolutely.
place and the like. So
Yeah.
not having those services really.
No,
is
I agree
a
with
step
you.
backwards.
And that's where, and then so one thing led to another. We got that contract, and then, of course, we also wrote a grant, and we developed a curriculum called Healthy You, which went with the 8 dimensions of health and wellness. We still use that curriculum. It's not evidence-based because we never went through the process. I mean, that would maybe be something to consider because it's a great curriculum. But we also, in that grant, wrote to expand. Most of the schools weren't doing elementary SAP. They were doing some type of something for the elementary kids. And so we wrote a grant to train as many elementary teachers as we could in Franklin and Fulton County. And we trained maybe 40 or 50, maybe even 60 people at the time. And I still have a small contract with Chambersburg and Tuscarora, another contract to do just St. Thomas. So we do have some private contracts. We do have some county money to do SAP. But one thing led to another, and then it led to Check and Connect. I got approached because, again, a lot of people in the county were familiar with me and trusted that I could do good things.
What is checking?
So Check and Connect, as you mentioned, is a mentorship-based program. And it's not meant to help the kids study or tutor or anything that it's really building a relationship with the child. So what we know statistically is children do better if they have at least one caring, reliable adult in their lives. Some of these kids don't, and I'm sure your daughter and has told you stories where they just don't have an adult who's looking out for them, not even knowing whether they're getting on the bus in the morning. And so when kids fall behind, when kids are truant, we get referrals from the schools, and then Kyra has worked out a system where we sort of look at where they fall on a rubric scale, and then we have mentors, and that's probably our largest program now because I would say about 7 or 8 of the staff do mentoring. They go and they work with the kids in elementary and then early middle school. They meet with them at least once a week if they can. That's the standard. And then really what they're doing is checking their grades, checking behavior, checking their attendance, but really connecting with the child to get them re-engaged in school.
So without getting political at all, have you ever read Hillbilly Elegy?
I have not.
I would encourage you to read
okay.
it, and it doesn't matter, and people can have their own thoughts.
Yeah.
But this, J.D. Vance's whole message that what got him through school was having a grandmother that cared, because his life was in total chaos, and children are looking for somebody who is a stabilizing force in their lives, and it can be one person.
Yep.
That's, but it's a case study, a social work case study, really, of how
I've seen clips of it.
there's a movie, obviously,
Yes.
but how a person navigated growing up in Appalachia with a drug-addicted mother, a father, a non-existent father, and the like, but having a grandmother who was somewhat crazy herself, but she gave him direction and was there every time he needed somebody to be there.
Yes.
She was there.
Yes, and it's the consistency. It's not
Right.
only that individual's there, but they're consistent with their messaging. They're consistent with being there and showing up and being trustworthy. And so I think the mentors they've got a lot on their shoulders, but they're great people. And they go to the schools, the kids look for them. They'll sit and do homework with them, and that might be the carrot where they say, okay, if you finish your homework while we sit here, we'll play a game. I have one mentor, and they find out what's the kid, what are they interested in. We had one kid that we said, what are you interested in? He said, I love library, I love books. And they said, well, did you know there's a library? This is in Waynesboro. There's a library right down the street. Got him a library card. They need to be connected somehow. Another mentor, I'll never forget, she came and she had a candy bar on her desk, and I said, what is that, and why is there a child's name on that? And she said, because I told him if he comes to school 5 days straight, he could have his candy bar. And he said, well, how do I know you're not going to eat that and get another candy bar? And she said, I'll put your name on it. So, but it's just that. And then when he goes to school for 5 days, he gets some consistency with the teachers. He gets some consistency with the other people there. And he builds that relationships again. So it's all about building relationships. It's a 2-year commitment, and really they're there for 2 years, and we're also at that same time trying to help them navigate meeting new mentors, new teachers, lunch lady.
So how big is your staff?
I have 16 right now, and that's probably the smallest I've had. I've had upwards of 20. Most recently, again, some things have to change and I have to pivot. We were doing SAP in Fulton County, and when my liaison quit over the summer, I said, why are we running around and doing this? Fulton County family partnership is just as they're able to do this. So the county worked it out with me, and so it's things like that I think as a good leader I have to pivot.
No, you do, but I do know that your staff, and I know several members on your staff, they share the same passion and commitment. So
Yeah.
when they're engaged, they're in with all
Yeah.
4 feet.
Yeah, they absolutely are, and I look for that.
Mhm.
I look for that in staff. Are you here? I don't want people that are just coming for a job.
Mhm.
What's your passion? What interests you? And I'm a big proponent of. Well, I'll usually do a phone interview or a Zoom or a live interview with somebody when I meet them for the first for a position, with candidates, and then I bring the candidates back without me. If I'm there in the office, I shut my door. As many staff as can be out there with them, have an informal discussion, and they get to ask questions. The staff get to ask that person questions. And at the end of the day, they've told me no to some people, and they've embraced other
Yeah,
people.
I mean, to that point, I think you're looking, you have to be, everybody has to be rowing in the
Yes.
same direction in
Yes.
what you're doing.
Yes.
And so that having the chemistry is essential,
Yes.
and you can't have divides because
Right.
your programming depends on, as you're trying to be consistent in mentoring, but to be able to do that, your staff has to have the chemistry that they're working
Yeah.
together.
And they have to trust. They
collaboratively.
have to trust each other. That if somebody has something that they need, or something comes up, then we need to be able to pivot and take care of those people, and be there. So if something happened to a mentor, we have to make sure that somebody's taking care of those kids, and we have to pivot. And that's where sometimes I get involved. Okay, if I have to go and do kids because somebody's out, I'll mentor those kids. Now, I'm not the same adult, but I'm an adult.
So,
So.
no, and I'm looking at the clock here, and we've been, this time has fun. But and Karen, I really appreciate you coming in and talking about healthy communities. But for those out there, and somebody who's been involved in that, just when you hear the word healthy communities, what does that mean to you, and what message you try to get across to others about healthy communities? What does that mean?
So for me, I think, again, when we think of health, we're thinking about individual health or individual physical and mental health. But in order to have that, you also have to have a community and the surrounding parts of it that also have some components of health. It has to be economically viable, which I know is right up your wheelhouse. We've got to have access to quality education, quality health care. We have to have environmentally good quality air, good quality water, all of those things. We've got to have the infrastructure such as roads, walkways. So it's built areas, and it's the social context in which we live. And where I grew up, we had neighborhoods, and we walked to those. I think it's great if we're able to do that. We're able to bikeability and accessibility to those places. So we have to have all of those. And there's different things that look at the quality of communities. I should have probably thought about looking at Chambersburg's and where we stand, but I think we're probably in the upper tier. See, there goes mine. We're in the upper tier, but we're not the best of the best in terms of some of the things. But yeah, it has to be well-rounded in terms of the education, the healthcare, the social context, the activities for our youth, and also our older adults that need something to do.
I think between, and not to confuse everybody, but between Healthy Communities Partnership and Healthy Franklin County,
Yes.
I think one of the things maybe the most important thing that you've done is raise the awareness in the community of the need for some of these
Yes.
things, and the demand for services, and if we're going to be healthy, we have to provide those services that are going to allow for families. I always talk about, I've had the opportunity over the years, especially in being affiliated with United Way for several years, to go in and talk about the impact that United Way has, and the nonprofits that they fund across the county, and the work that folks are doing. Your agency and your organization, what you're doing, you see the community very differently than I do. I have the opportunity to talk and meet with people who are running businesses, oftentimes very successful, and they're living more of a country club lifestyle in a lot of cases. Your folks are dealing with that part of the community that we don't see. It's the kids that are coming to school, and I look at this upcoming week for the weather forecast and the like, who are going to be trying to figure out how to stay warm, how to stay dry, how to eat, and the like. And if
Yeah.
schools get closed, some of these kids don't have those same opportunities. So, I mean, I really look at what you do as being God's work, and without any fanfare.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
your folks are doing that, and again, I would, I get a sign now because you with the program that Kyra's involved with, there's the Go Girls Go, and when you see these fourth and fifth graders, sixth graders, these young girls that are coming out, and it's a sense of accomplishment, but your team is right there, and I see the one event.
Yep.
What I don't see
Yeah.
is the nights during the week
Yes.
that you're out there going to the different schools and
Yes.
meeting with the
Yes.
kids and getting them engaged. But it's absolutely rewarding
Yes.
to see at the end that they're all gathered around and celebrating an accomplishment.
Absolutely, and that's probably we're probably known for that program the best, which is fine, and that's where we're always looking for expansion, and that's an amazing program, and I'm glad that you mentioned it because it is one of those that we work very hard. We're hopefully going to have 13 schools in the spring, which scares me, but excites me. And when I was talking to you earlier, I mentioned my idea behind Go Girls Go is I want more schools to be involved. We don't have the capacity to take care of all of those and work at all of those. So we'll work with the ones where they don't have a teacher or somebody in-house. But some of those, about 7 of those 13 schools are independent. We don't have staff going there at all. We have teachers, counselors, we have committed parents that are running that program. We give them the resources, we give them the information, we give them the curriculum, but they run it. But you're right, to see that accomplishment, and really what we're doing on a week-to-week basis is that mentorship, giving them the consistency, pushing them to places they've never thought that they could go. When we tell them that they're going to run for 30 minutes and they groan or whatever, and then they come back and they're like, we did a mile. And you're like, yeah, you did.
Yep.
You did a mile. And then they'll say, I can't do a 5K. But Mike, you've seen when they cross that,
Oh my
it
God,
doesn't matter if it's an
no,
hour.
That doesn't matter.
The smiles on their faces are as big as this
Well,
room.
what you'll see are parents and
Yes.
mentors saying, you gotta keep going.
You gotta keep going. You gotta keep-
I don't care if you're gonna walk, you're gonna run, you're gonna do a
skip,
combination.
you're gonna go backwards. I don't really.
We're gonna get to the end of this.
They are.
And once they do that, then,
They're just.
then they get a Chick-fil-A
and-
breakfast.
Yeah, then then we
That
go
always
to, we
helps.
go to the
That always
good side of the health. But honestly, it's one of those programs that if you haven't experienced it, you need to come out. And I tell that to all my new board members. I tell that to people. It's just one of those things that just come out and watch it. When we started that as a pilot in 2016, so this will be our 10th year, 21st season. When we started in 2016 as a pilot, one of the unintended consequences was the family involvement. We did not think we were going to get family involvement. We started at Ben Chambers, and we thought, that's one of our lower per capita schools. We thought, okay, we'll have these girls, we'll do this will be. The people that showed up, it was incredible. I've had girls say, my grandpa's here from Florida. He's running with me. And I'm like, okay, that's great. But just in the success stories from that, speaking of one thing leading to another, we had a mentor at North this year, Chambersburg North. She's the nurse, and she was so passionate about the program. She would go around and write personal notes to the girls in the program and put them on their lockers, to the point where some of them, there's a social thing going on with them currently, and she called us for some help. They come to her now because they're like, I need to talk to you about this. I don't know who else to talk to. And because of that, they're going to her. Where they wouldn't have gone to any.
Right, that's.
They wouldn't have gone. Who would they have gone to?
No, they weren't going to anybody, and that's and that's the challenge they have living their lives.
Yeah.
And it's always a reminder how hard it is growing up.
Yes.
And we all and when you look back, we recall the good time, but growing up is hard.
It is hard.
And And so, and having, that circle of mentors and friends that can help you do that
Yes.
is critical. Again,
Yep.
I want to thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
And I want to thank you for what you do, and you're improving the lives of young people and their families across the county, and we all from that, so thank you.
Thank you, and it's an honor to be here. I have an amazing group that work beside me and with me, and I applaud them. They are amazing. They
So,
are amazing, so thank you as
so-
well.
thanks.
All right,
Okay.
thank you.
All right, Bosco, but before we sign off, this has been another edition of Mike on the Mic.
Yes, it has.
And we're going to give one more shout out
Yep.
to our sponsor. And who would that be?
Jeb Keller, Blue Ridge Risk Partners,
And why would that be? I'll tell you why that would be, Bosco.
because he cut us a
Okay.
check.
Okay, yeah, yes, he has given us money, and which we appreciate. But from captive insurance and alternative risk solutions for your business to health insurance for your family, Blue Ridge Risk Partners offers the products, expertise, and services of a top 10 insurance agency right here in Franklin County. And as I mentioned before, we have been working with Blue Ridge and their predecessors since 1986. And now the friend of the podcast, Jeb Keller, is always happy to take your call. So reach out to Blue Ridge. And again, if you are interested in being a sponsor, please contact our office at 717-263-8282 or david@fcadc.com. And that concludes another edition of Mike on the Mic.
All right, thank you.